Alabama gets another win, but today we need to dive into this because the Crimson Tide has a lot we need to be excited about, but something isn't clicking, and we've got to dive into it. We need to talk about the defense, something that so many of us early on in the season were concerned about for Alabama, something that now has really taken shape for the Crimson Tide, has been a strong suit for the Crimson Tide. But the offense, something we all thought was so sure, so good in the early portion, it's just not clicking the way I think it should. We've got a lot to break down today. We've got a lot to go through. And as always, we're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about the bad. We're going to talk about everything in between. If the audio does sound a little bit off, I do apologize. Right as I sat down, my Focusrite bricked out, and now it is not working. So we're doing the best we can, just like Alabama did, but that's going to be the theme for this weekend. People in the YouTube chat already. We have Stevie G saying, Ty, you know I'm a fan, but now it's hate week. Hey, completely understand, Stevie. We might talk about that lightly at the end of this stream, but I kind of have some takes on that. Goof over on YouTube saying defense balled out, offense got to step up again, and people keep blaming our running backs, but the offensive line can't open any gaps for them. Run blocking has just not been very good for Alabama. Like, let's call it what it is. They've just not been very good. So I don't even know where to begin right now, quite frankly, because Alabama's offense seems to be a weird case of feast or famine. And the reason why I say a weird case of feast or famine is usually when you see an offense that's feast or famine, it's feast or famine because it's either based on big plays or nothing's happening. You're either getting the explosive plays, you're getting the deep shot, you're getting the explosive runs, or your offense is going nowhere. Alabama's offense isn't like that. Alabama's offense is a much more methodical offense than it is a deep shot offense, an offense that's just living and dying by these explosive plays that you usually see out of a feast or famine offense. I mean, they have one of the top time of possessions in all of the SEC, despite being one of the worst rushing attacks in all of the SEC. That alone points to an offense that is incredibly methodical, is incredibly efficient, moves the ball downfield, but does so by controlling. But the weird part is you have these drives that I think are brilliant in terms of displaying what Alabama's offense is. Once again, Alabama's offense is phenomenal in the end of half situations. 2 amazing throws by Ty Simpson, 2 big plays by the wide receivers, one out of Latsier Brooks, one out of Ryan Williams. But we've seen now far too many times. Remember, once we can overlook that. Twice, we can even still take note of it, but we can look past it. Once something has occurred several times, it becomes a pattern. And once a pattern emerges, we can't just ignore it. And right now, the pattern for Alabama's offense is there's so much good about it. This is such a good offense, but it almost seems like it is incredibly inconsistent in a very weird way. I think not being able to run the ball with any sort of consistency absolutely affects what the offense is able to do. But even then, when you look at the way the passing game is predicated, when you look at the success they have in the passing game, and you kind of look at how the game goes on, you'd expect Alabama to at least have a bit more sustained success. But you're not seeing that. This happened against South Carolina, where Alabama's offense was just non-existent up until when it mattered. It also showed up tonight against LSU, where Alabama's offense just didn't show up in the manner you would hope. Alabama has got to get to a position where they are putting teams away when the opportunity to put the teams away presents itself. And we've talked about this. We've talked about this several times. We've had this conversation a few times this year. I apologize. Had to text people over at Bleacher Report kind of experiencing an issue right now where I'm live over here and it is not live on Bleacher Report. So Michael Smith says a win is a win. Defense definitely balled out. Why do the running backs keep running up the middle? I don't think it particularly matters right now, Michael, where they run. I'm going to be very honest. We're just not able to really run it effectively anywhere. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. Hall of Fame. What's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Lynn Shaneyfelt in the chat saying, Ty, what's up, my man? We are a horrible run team. I just don't feel like we're a playoff team right now. We just don't look good. We've had 2 weeks on bye week. I think Alabama's a playoff team. I think Alabama is a playoff team. That, to me, isn't really my concern. I think Alabama has a lot of what it takes to win a national championship, but there are things that we are seeing right now that are going to make it much more difficult than it needs to be. Let me explain a little bit. Because what I mean is a national championship team has to have the tenacity that when a game is close, they have that belief in each other that they're going to grit it out. They have to be great in the biggest moments. With this Alabama team, we've seen that. There's no quit. When the moments are the biggest, that's when Alabama has really shown up. But then to your point, not being able to run the ball effectively is really going to hurt. It's really hurting Alabama. And I know people have questions about the running backs. To me, it's everything. It's the run blocking I just don't think is very good. I can't put it on the running backs just themselves. I don't think the run blocking is very good. I also am shocked that Alabama earlier on in the season was getting the running backs involved in the passing game much more frequently than we're seeing right now. The Steffmeister over on Bleacher Report says ugly win. It was an ugly win. And there is something to be said for being able to win these games. I don't want to sit here and pretend like it's all doom and gloom. It's not. Just like I said, championship teams win when it matters. Championship teams win when it matters. And Alabama does that. When the moments are the biggest, I mean, we've seen multiple examples of this. When the moments are the biggest, Alabama makes plays. So that's good. Like, that is what a championship team does. The reason why you see me right now kind of, I wouldn't say upset. Alabama won. They're on an amazing win streak. Hall of Fame over on YouTube, an Oklahoma content creator, Hall of Fame Sports over on YouTube, friend of the show, done a lot of content with him, love him. He's saying Alabama is still the best team in the SEC. I have to see more physicality before I name them natty contenders. I don't disagree with you at all. I don't disagree with you at all. Right now, the one area where I do disagree with you, Hall of Fame, is I do think that this team has a lot of what it takes to be a national championship contender. I do. I think the defense has really been playing well. Like, they get turnovers. But the offense not putting teams away, it's now a trend. Ladies and gentlemen, if this was the first time that Alabama's offense really came out flat, defense was doing well, I wouldn't be feeling like this. But now, far too often, I'm seeing Alabama's offense get a lead, get positions to put the nail in the coffin, cut the head off the snake, put a team away early and not look back. And Alabama's offense just hasn't done it. Now, they've been able to win because, like I said, one of the reasons why I am frustrated with Alabama right now is because you see the offense do well early game, get some points, stall right before half, look really good, stall, and then when the moment is the brightest, boom, there's Alabama's offense. And they're making plays when plays have to be made, when the moments are the brightest. But the frustrating thing to me is I know they have the capability to do it all game. That, to me, is just the one thing that's just frustrating me. Doc Mo says Ty missed again. Ty missing again. More drop balls, not running the ball. We're doomed for an upset. I'm not really even mad at any of the drops. The one Ryan Williams that hit him on the fingertips, I'm not mad at Ty for that throw. He got a lot of pressure on that throw, and that was a very hard catch by Ryan. I'm more upset by the one to Jeremy. That was a walk-in touchdown that was just a bit off. Like that there were throws to be had. But ladies and gentlemen, both on YouTube and on Bleacher Reports, how many times now have we gathered here after the game and we're saying there's meat on the bones? And we're just not taking advantage of it. Well, here we are again, looking at an LSU team that played well on defense. I think LSU did play well on defense. On offense, they were putrid. I mean, they were horrendous on offense. But LSU's defense played well. They were aggressive. Bama's offense left meat on the bone again. We talked last week that one of the things that gives you hope is the fact that Alabama is winning this game. These games, I should say. While you're in these situations. Domo Leo says, congratulations to Bama, but you got past the LSU team that fired the head coach and a banged-up LSU quarterback. Domo, that's almost the most dangerous team. Penn State fired their head coach, took Indiana to the ringer. I mean, when you look across college football, those are the situations where teams are almost the most dangerous. You're talking about a wounded animal being backed in a corner. They've got nothing to lose. So I agree with you. Bama should have won this game by a lot more. Bama is just leaving things out there that you don't want. But to me, this is a lot less about like, oh, it's LSU after they fire their head coach. That's a dangerous team. It's still LSU. Still a lot of talent on that team. But they have nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing to lose. Let's talk about Alabama's defense, because that is an area that, guys, we were critical of Kane Womack. He's making us all eat crow. Kane Womack has been fantastic. This Alabama defense has been fantastic. They get turnovers. They generate turnovers. They get stops. And Yonze Pierre is becoming an absolute problem. The other day, I was looking at something, and I think I saved it on Twitter, but I'm not sure if I did. Let me see if I can't find it. Oh, Roll Tide. Roll Tide, 1831. I had complaints about Womack. I never was like, hey, he needs to go. I had some complaints about when he would call certain plays in certain games. It seemed off. But I got to be honest with you, man. That defense is dialed in. He is dialed in. He now understands the personnel he has, and the personnel now understands the assignment. Kane Womack has been sensational. And someone on YouTube said it, that after the Florida State game, the rest of the game, nobody has scored over 24 points. If they would have held Florida State, Yeah, no doubt, Roll Tide. But listen, that's what you get with blue blood fans, right? Blue blood fans. Jason, Hall of Fame Sports, Roll Tide 1831. He's over watching on YouTube. He's an OU fan, an OU content creator. You can ask him. Blue blood fans say wild stuff, but that's because they're blue blood fans, right? Like the expectations are just so skewed for teams that are blue bloods. They're just skewed. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's just what it is. That's why they're so fun to talk about. That's why blue blood fans are so fun to interact with. Because like they are the stereotypical college football fan that's like just saying wild stuff. It's awesome. But I'm trying to see if I can find this because someone said something about Jan Zapier being fantastic. I feel like I'm tweeting about Jan Zapier multiple times a game, every game. But there was a stat. Here we are. There's two. Here we go. I'm going to give y'all two stats. Most pressures, and this is before this game. Okay? This is before this game. So we'll say Friday evening. Most pressures in the SEC Friday evening. Cassius Howell and Colin Simmons were tied at 34 apiece. Once again, this is before this weekend's games. Damon Wilson and Crawford were next. Damon Wilson of Missouri had 33. Crawford of Auburn had 30. Zion Young of Missouri, 30. Dylan Stewart of South Carolina, 30. Jan Zapier, 30. So he's only four back. He was only four back from the leader in the SEC in pressures. He didn't start this year. He came in after Quay Russaw went down. You want to see something more impressive? Let's talk about pressure rate. Jan Zapier is, before this weekend, was leading the SEC in edges in pressure rate at 21.7%. Ladies and gentlemen, we are watching a star. We are watching a star be born in Jan Zapier. Oh, and Goof over on YouTube is saying that we had a lot of Bama fans turning on Ty Simpson early in the third quarter. Ty Simpson, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's been really good this year. Yes, I think he had an off game against South Carolina. He had some great throws tonight. He had some unfortunate moments tonight where he missed a throw. That's football. That's football, ladies and gentlemen. LSU was very aggressive. They got to him. Like I said on the Ryan Williams drop, there's going to be two types of people. The people who say that's on Ryan Williams and the people who say that's on Ty Simpson. The correct answer is if you go into the third group and you say, well, Ty Simpson had a defender bearing down on him and put it the best he could. Ryan Williams did the best he could. That wasn't a great throw, but once again, Ty had a defender. I'm not mad at that one. Like, to me, I look at that one and I was like, that's rough. That sucks. That's unfortunate. If that defender would have been a second later, that's an accurate ball. That's a big gain. But that's football. That's football. Ty Simpson has been great. Ty Simpson has been great. Brian West, I completely disagree with you. And I think Russell is going to be fantastic. I am sitting about 20 minutes from Duncanville, where he went. Watched him play multiple times. Very familiar with Russell. He is going to be sensational. But if you're a freshman quarterback, one of the best things you can do is learn from a guy like Ty Simpson, who's been so good at diagnosing defenses pre-snap, setting protections. This is an amazing thing for Key Russ. Sitting, learning, developing, and having a guy like that in front of you. And Roll Tide. I'm of the mindset that in a perfect world, for me, you always have your first year starter quarterback learn. Now, obviously, that's not to say that first year quarterbacks should never start, right? We can talk about several first year quarterbacks who have been fantastic. I'm saying in my perfect world, I would always hope that I had a quarterback that was able to be in front of my true freshman who was good enough that my true freshman could sit, learn the offense, learn the speed of college football, and learn from that guy that's been there longer. And that's exactly what's happening right now. That's exactly what's happening right now. David Simpson over on YouTube says, not worried about Ty. He'll bounce back. I'm like you, man. He had the South Carolina game to me was worse. And he's going to be fine. Like, he had some throws tonight that were absolutely beautiful. The one down the sideline to Cuevas was an absolute dime. Beautiful throw. Absolutely beautiful throw. The one to Lottie Brooks before halftime, dime. The touchdown to Ryan Williams, dime. The one that he missed to Lotzier Brooks, that should have been called pass interference. It didn't get called. That's fine. I think it was a pretty clear PI, but that's fine. Flags are missed every game. It is what it is. He missed the one to Bernard. That's a miss. The one to Ryan Williams, like I said, I'm not mad at either guy on that one. It was just outside of Ryan's reach. He barely touched it. And Ty Simpson got smoked as soon as he threw it. He did the best he could. But he's going to be just fine. I agree with you, Roll Tide. And the Steph Meister, I think you're 100% right. Lisa, I just think I don't think that that the play calling, how do I put this? I think in spurts the play calling is weird. But I also think for Alabama, not having a run game is really the catalyst for this. That's really the catalyst for this. All right, let's really dive into Alabama's defense. We talked about Jan Zapier, what a special player he has become. Because like I just said, I just gave you all the numbers. You're talking about a guy in Jan Zapier that coming into the weekend was among the top in the SEC for pressures and was the top guy for pressure rate. He didn't start. This is a young man that we've watched grow into the role that he is now embracing. I mean, Red Morgan, Roll Tide, great call. Great call. Red Morgan is playing great football. I mean, really good football. Bray Hubbard continues to play really good football. Dejon Lee is what they look like, right? When someone says, I'm him, that's what him looks like, is Dejon Lee. Young man is going to be an absolute problem. Xavier Brown. Hill Green was phenomenal tonight. I really think that there were some plays in coverage where Justin Jefferson was a step late. That happens. None of it was egregious. I still think the linebackers are playing really well compared to what we saw last season, compared to what we saw early this season. I still think Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, Nikhai Hill-Green are playing really good football. Are playing really good football. London Simmons playing good ball. LT Overton. The defense as a whole is so fun to watch. The defense as a whole is so fun to watch. The linebacker play is absolutely better, Roll Tide. Absolutely better. EO boy, you said it as well. Linebacker play has gotten better. It is much better. It's really good now. Nikhai Hill-Green with that play tonight was amazing. They showed the angle from the side where he ran down Bauer Sharp and literally punched the ball out and then recovered the fumble. And remember, that was not the only takeaway that Alabama should have had. One of the first plays of the game, Hubbard rips the ball out. LSU recovers. Hubbard almost had the interception. I mean, that defense is stingy. It's really good. And I have to say, there's so much we can talk about on the defense. One, Noah Carter. He is going to be a fun player, ladies and gentlemen, to watch. He made some plays tonight. That kid is hyper athletic. He was one of those guys that in high school played every position on the field. I'm pretty sure. I mean, whatever that team needed, he did, and he did at a high level. And now he's sitting and learning a position, and he's going to be so good. But Yanze Pierre, I cannot say enough good. I cannot say enough good about Yanze Pierre. You see players get better, but the evolution of Yanze Pierre's game right in front of our eyes has been such a treat to watch. Such a treat to watch. He was always a good player. For anybody watching this, I don't want you thinking I'm saying, oh, there was a time where Yanze wasn't good. He's always been a good player. But we are watching a guy who was a pass rush specialist now become a guy that whatever you need him to do, he can do. He is diagnosing plays really well. His eye discipline is so much better. His run stuffing ability is so much better. I mean, he has improved so much in a few weeks. And like EO Boy says, Quay's coming back. But Yanze Pierre, I am just so happy for him. So happy for him. We are watching a guy go from a pass rush specialist to an outright defensive demon. And that's what he is. He was the best pass rusher on the team. He is really quickly ascending, at least to me, to being in the conversation for one of the best defensive players on the team. Really fun player to watch. Really excited to get Quay back too, because they're very different players. They're very different players. Both of them really good. But Yanze, man, I really can't say enough good things. Really can't say enough good things. Doc Moe over on Bleacher Report says, defense shows holes but holds up when it matters. That's the only thing the defense will do, man, is they will give up an explosive run every game. They'll give up a few explosive runs every game, and then it's just like after they get punched in the jaw those one or two times, they lock in and then are phenomenal the rest of the game. It really is a lot of fun to watch. Really is a lot of fun to watch. Let's check out some of the stats from this game. Ty Simpson was 21 of 35 for 277 yards, 1 touchdown. Like I said, I think Ty is going to be just fine. I'm not worried about Ty Simpson. I'm still really high on him. He still makes some beautiful NFL throws. He just had some off moments tonight. That's football. It is what it is. I am much more concerned about the running game. That's the thing that's concerning me at this point. Because Alabama actually got some deep attack going in the passing game tonight. That's one thing we've been talking about, saying, hey, Alabama's lacking. Alabama cooks people. But the vertical passing game just hasn't been there. The passing game as a whole, they cook secondaries. The vertical passing game showed up tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, you're talking about a rushing attack that had 26 carries for 56 yards, averaging 2.2 per. That right there is the one thing that I'm just like, man. And the reason why I say it's the one thing, I think that is the catalyst for Alabama's offense inexplicably stalling. For those of you over on Bleacher Report, the stream was a little late tonight. I started off the stream by saying one of the things that is so interesting about Alabama's offense is as the season has gone on, it's almost a feast or famine offense. But the reason why that's so fascinating is typically when we're talking about feast or famine offenses, you're talking about offenses that completely rely on the home run plays, that completely rely on a vertical passing attack or an explosive run game. That's not Alabama's offense. Alabama's offense is second in the SEC in time of possession. They are a methodical, march it down the field offense. That's what they do. They march it down the field on you and control. That's not usually synonymous with an offense that will then just kind of disappear for large swaths of the game. Typically, if you are a walk 'em down offense where you just methodically move the ball down the field, you do that very consistently. Alabama seems to get points early in a game, kind of disappear for a bit, get points right before half. They're phenomenal in 2 minutes. I'm not joking when I say I think Alabama may have the best 2-minute offense in college football. Like, you don't want to give the ball to Alabama with 2 minutes left before the half or before the end of the game. That's the last thing you want to do. They are unbelievable in those scenarios. Like, I feel like when they play their best football is in those scenarios. But I think the reason, or at least a big reason, why we're seeing this is because you just don't have a rushing attack that's consistent right now. And that's really unfortunate. Hey, Latoya, happy to see you. Hope you're doing good. Oh, no doubt about it. LJ over on YouTube says LSU played much harder today than the lackluster effort they gave against A&M. Much better win than some think. I agree with you. in terms of, I think LSU's defense played really well. I do agree with you that it's a good win. Every win is a good win. And one thing that I don't want to sound like I'm being overly negative, because this team knows how to pull wins out. And that's an important thing for trying to win a national championship, is always having this belief of we can get it done. And this team has that. They absolutely have that. They battle. And I love that. I wouldn't trade that for anything. That factor of being able to battle, I wouldn't trade that for anything. But LJ, the one thing that does kind of worry me, and I think it stems from the lack of a run game, but Alabama's offense plays with their food a little bit too much. That's the one thing that I'm just like, I wish we'd put teams away. But I do agree with you. I do 100% agree with you that LSU's defense played really well tonight, but LSU's offense was putrid. I love that Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame over on YouTube says, Teddy Lehman says all the time, winning is a skill. And Alabama has the skill to win. Like, they are showing they have refined that skill. But sometimes they make it more difficult than it needs to be. Either way, good win. No doubt about it. This is a good win because LSU was a dangerous team. They had nothing to lose. I think they're really happy Brian Kelly's gone. And they wanted to go out there and prove a point. So you knew they were going to throw everything. This is a good win. Is it the win that you probably were expecting? Maybe not. Is it the win that I thought we'd get? No. But it's a good win. Figuring out how to win and being able to execute, that's the most important thing, and I'll take it. Nicholas Labar over on Bleacher Report says, we need to be more efficient when we face Oklahoma next week. We can't keep putting pressure on our defense and think they're supposed to hold us up when our offense sputters. I don't disagree with you at all. Alabama's offense has to be very intentional against Oklahoma, because some of what we saw LSU do tonight, Oklahoma is going to do. The difference is Oklahoma's front seven is better. Pretty much well everywhere. So you have to be very intentional about what you're doing against Oklahoma. And when I say some of the things are going to be similar, what I mean is LSU is very aggressive. Brent is very aggressive. Brent Venables is a very aggressive play caller. So Bama has to be very intentional with their offense. I don't disagree with you. LJ over on YouTube says, lack of truly committing to the run game as well by Grubb, only 26 rushing attempts. I don't disagree with you, LJ, at all. There has to be a commitment to the run game. But man, 2.2 yards per. That's not good. That is not good. But I do agree, LJ. The run game isn't something that you should shy away from. It's something that builds on itself. You need to commit to it. You're 100% right. Hacker Music over on YouTube says, without a running game, the quarterback has to be near flawless, and that's hard to do game after game. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. And that's why I said I think some of this sputtering from – I think a lot of the sputtering from Alabama's offense stems from not having that run game. The Steffmeister says Brent coming off a bye week is going to throw the kitchen sink at us. Yeah, and he's a brilliant defensive mind. I mean, he is a brilliant defensive mind. I don't care how you feel about Oklahoma. let's all be real here. That guy knows defense. He is going to make things very difficult. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but like, you know what it is. You know what it is. College football nerds just tweeted that Alabama's offense is averaging 2.17 yards per carry on first down in its last 3 games on standard runs. That's painful. That's painful. You would lose that $20, dump. Yep, 2.7 yards. No, I'm sorry, 2.17 yards per carry. Dump. 2.17 yards per carry on first down in its last 3 games on standard runs. Tonight, because that's the last 3 games, tonight, Alabama averaged 1.6 yards per carry on first down. And they ran it 10 times on first down, averaging 1.6 yards per carry. That's got to be better. Buck over on YouTube says, is it fair to say that the last 3 years of Saban years were a bust on O-line recruiting? I think that here's why it's hard for me to directly answer that, Buck. And I know there are going to be some people that say yes, and I'm not saying anybody that says yes is wrong, because there were busts. But there has been so much inconsistency in terms of what was asked of the offensive line. Coach Wolford wanted them. First off, we can go back to Doug Marrone. That was a flop. That was a flop. Doug Marrone, that was the beginning of the downfall of Alabama's offensive line being great. Then you had Coach Wolford, who he had a particular style of offensive linemen. He wanted them to be huge, way too big. You remember before that season, everybody was saying that, oh, Alabama's offensive line is bigger than the NFL offensive line. That's probably like the NFL. They can get whatever they want. It's probably a reason they weren't that big. Bama fans found out why. And now you're almost going from A to Z, Buck. And that's why I said anybody who says yes to your question, I will not fault them, because they are right in some aspect. I just think there's a deeper, more nuanced answer than instantly saying, yeah, it's no, Alabama's offensive line isn't great because of all these busts. While I think that there have been more busts than we would like to see, I think that the more nuanced answer is yes, and Doug Marrone did not work. Wolford wanted the line to be way too big. And now when Kalen DeBoer comes in, when Coach Cap comes in, when Ryan Grubb comes in, they want the offensive line to be able to function in space. Coach DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, they do a lot of pin and pull. They do a lot of pin and pull. That's really hard to do when your offensive line is as big as the one that Wolford had. So that's why I say I think that anybody could 20. No, thank you, sir. I think that yes is an answer to your question, Buck, but I don't think that that fully answers the question. I think that the more nuanced answer is that there has been such a dramatic turn in a short period of time of what's been asked of the offensive line from Marrone to then Wolford, and then what Alabama wants offensive linemen to do now is literally on the opposite end of the spectrum from what Wolford wanted you to. Like, it could not be more opposed. Wolford wanted a stone wall that just didn't move. And this offensive staff wants their offensive linemen in space, pinning and pulling. The center, right? Like, if you go back to when DeBoer was at Washington, we talked about this. I don't know that I've seen an offense pin and pull as much, or more at least. I've seen offenses pin and pull, but they did it a lot at Washington. So it is a fascinating question to really get into because there's so many levels to it to me. That's a good question, Buck. Yeah, too much talent to be where we are in the run game. I agree. And it's even sadder when you think about what Alabama's offense could be if they had a consistent run game. Been drinking since 11 a.m. Hey, man, have fun. Enjoy your Saturday. Be safe. Richard Borek says Alabama is so lucky LSU has no offense. I don't disagree, but one thing I can say about Alabama, Richard, is that they, unfortunately, this year, they play to the level that's presented at them. And I have no doubt that if LSU would have shown up with an offense, whether I like it or not, Alabama's offense would have been better. Why do I say that, Richard? Because that's what's happened every game outside the first game. Do I like that? No. I'd much rather the offense consistently show up and put teams away when the head of the snake presents itself and you can cut it off than playing with your food. But having said that, that's what they've done. So, but you're right. You're very right, Richard. LSU's offense was putrid tonight. Part of that's Alabama's defense is very good. LSU had 26 rushing attacks. Yeah, that's also, like I said, Bama's red zone defense is very good. Let me see how good. Alabama's 6th in the nation at red zone scoring percentage. So they're very good in defense. Very, very good. Let's check out some more stats. Like I said, LSU had 59 yards rushing. So they held up, but LSU What I'm looking at right here, Hacker Music, it says opponent red zone scoring percentage, Alabama 6. Well, Richard, if my aunt was a man, she'd be my uncle. So I don't really know where we go with that. I think at first the percentage I gave you, Hacker, was the offensive stat, and then I clicked over and it's showing Alabama's red zone defense to be 6th. LSU wide receivers. LSU had 173 yards through the air. Alabama 288. Alabama once again generating turnovers. They had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. So, hey, it's a win. It is an absolute win for Alabama to get out of there. Well, I can, Richard, and I did. So, at the end of the day, Alabama gets another win. One of the things that is just frustrating me with Alabama right now, this is what we'll close on, is that the Tide is playing with its food. Whenever they get a lead, they almost lull, and then when they need to score again, boom, they score. Like we've seen this so many times with Alabama this season, that they are playing to the level of the team they're playing. And I don't really care for that. I'd rather that be a bit more consistent. But at the end of the day, Alabama has figured out one of the most important things for championship teams. Once again, not saying they're going to win a national championship, but there is an aspect, and that's winning games, gritting games out, that belief. And they have that. They absolutely have that. Alabama's defense has been fantastic. There's only one team that scored over 24 points on them. That was the first game of the season. Outside of that, the defense is locked in and has been really, really good, generating turnovers. And really not allowing teams to take advantage of positions. Alabama's defense really good in the red zone. Alabama's defense really good at making plays when it matters. They're really good in generating turnovers. They give up a few explosive runs a game. Outside of that, they shut things down. So, at the end of the day, Alabama gets another win against a team that you knew was going to be an injured animal in this game. Injured animals are always dangerous because you just don't know what to expect. You really can't prepare for this LSU team right now, at least in this situation, because you had no film of what they were going to do. Obviously, they can't totally change their identity overnight. That's not possible, but brand new coach. Brian Kelly's no longer there, and they have nothing to lose. So, Alabama gets another win, undefeated in the SEC, really in the driver's seat to be able to get one of the top seeds for the playoffs. If Alabama's offense is able to operate with consistency and not miss those plays, then it's going to be really tough to stop them. Richard, that's just not true. That is just an insane thing to say. Kalen DeBoer has I think, the active highest win percentage against top 25 teams. I don't know who you're a fan of, Richard, but you were just not saying true facts. That is just not true. And I'd love to know who you're a fan of, because I almost think you're trolling because that's such a bad take. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, For those of you that don't think Kalen DeBoer is a good coach, remember, if we look at current coaches' win percentages against top 25 teams, Kalen DeBoer is among the top. Richard saying he's never won a championship. Kirby Smart hadn't ever won a championship until he did. Dan Lanning hasn't won one. Lane Kiffin hasn't won one. Like, there are only so many coaches in college football that have a national championship. And guess what? Kalen DeBoer is 2-0 against Kirby. He's 2-0 against Sark. Dan Lanning's never beat him. Lincoln Riley's never beat him. He lost a national championship. Okay. Nick Saban lost a national championship. Nick Saban also won national championships. He made it to a national championship in his second year at Washington. Once again, I'd love to know who you're a fan of, brother, because I think you're just trolling. But we will see you all Monday as we do this recap. Then Thursday, we will be doing the preview to Oklahoma. And then next Saturday, we'll be right back at it with the live reaction after the Oklahoma game. And I'm excited, man. Alabama continues winning. Kalen DeBoer continues to show that this is a resilient team. Can't wait to see what's next. Roll Tide, ladies and gentlemen.